folks. Welcome to Dragon Worx, and we're back on the 1981 Ironhead chopper project. And we last left you off with the axle situation back here. We had a back wheel that was coming loose. Let me get the tripod so I'm not shaking the camera, and I'll show you what we got going on. Okay, let's see if we can do this looking through the camera. So what was happening was the nut was not actually tightening the axle to the frame, because as you can see, the shoulder right here, or they call bearing area, whichever you want to call it, and then there's actually a taper right here going down to the threads. So what they had was they had a washer right here, but then the nut was only going to there and not going up against the washer. Therefore, the axle was loose. And the only reason they got away with it and nobody really noticed it at first, let me show you the other side, was because they took the adjusters and just crammed it into the axle to keep it from moving. And I don't think anybody rode this bike much after this, because I started test riding it because I was trying to get it to run right and stop right and all that. And I got out there on the hill, put a little bit of beans to her, and I actually felt something kind of give, and then the chain started skipping. And I don't know if it was because the nut was turned a little or the bolt gave, but it was just enough to make that wheel cock a little bit sideways. And that's how I discovered this mess. I mean, so this is one way you can do it. And I see this on older bikes too. Some of them came that way, I believe, and some people do it this way, but this is not a good way to do it. They've advanced from this way of doing it, and makes it a lot easier to get the wheel straight and to get the tension right and all that. Let me show you what we're talking about. All right, so what we have these days, get this old crappy nut off here, off the old crappy axle. What they have nowadays is they have an adjuster. Okay, here, I'll put the crappy bolt back on for temporary. It's got a little slot in it, okay? And then we got an adjuster. See, that has a little machine flat tip. And that goes in your slot. That's what she said. And just imagine how well that would work. Now I can tighten the chain, okay? And I can make the wheel straight by adjusting this. And once I get it tight, then I can tighten my bolt, and voila, everything's good, safe to ride down the road. But this axle is not right. Therefore, the holdup has been the whole time is whoever made this frame, and it's either somebody made this frame, they custom made this piece, and they had an axle, they made it too, and then somewhere along the line that axle is gone, or whatever they had here is gone, and now it's not working. So in order for me to find an axle for this measurement with the thread I need and all that stuff was impossible. Nobody had it. Then I contacted a company that said they were going to make it, and here we are, I don't know how many months later. It never happened. So I recently found an axle that I believe is going to work out. So we're going to give it a shot, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. It'll all start making sense to you. Maybe. All right, folks, so now you can start to see a little more of what we're talking about here, get a better idea. Here's my shoulder area, precision shoulder area for this precision adjuster. There's no slack in it whatsoever, it doesn't move. Then you take your adjusting bolt, put it back there, then you can align your wheel, and you can also get your chain tension just right, and then crank down your nut. So what I've been waiting for is to see exactly how much room I was going to have left after it was installed. You can measure and make a plan a million times, and as soon as you start something, the plan goes right out the window. So anyway, you got to physically get it in there so you can see, well, I got a good bit, which is good. That's exactly what I wanted, because I like to put a washer of some kind there and a locking nut if possible. The axle comes raw with no hardware. So you got to figure out what you need for your application, and that's what I'm doing now. So I will be going and getting the proper nut for this now, and we'll get this thing tightened up. Nothing can ever just be normal. And that's why they call them choppers, because you always got to chop stuff off of them. This darn bolt, threads are all chewed up on it. Wouldn't come out. Voila. All right, back to our regularly scheduled program. Got some nice lock nuts. Ooh, perfect. Why is everything working out so good? Something's about to go terribly wrong. It's almost like I had figured it. How was that possible? All right, let me show you what I got. There you go. So I got nice SAE style washer, 3/4 that fits the adjuster real nice. And then I got these real nice locking nuts that are going to do a wonderful job. And it's just about perfect. Man, was that lucky or what? Yeah, so that's what I got on both sides. It's just a straight axle, threaded on both ends, and we got to tap this over a tiny bit. We want to get them even and crank them up even. Like I said, I'm kind of feeling like we're gaining on it a little, which is scary. Okay, too much, right? Oh, it's just going to depend. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I'm ready to tighten them up. I don't even have the chain or the wheel lined up yet. Okay, that should hold it for the time being. So if you always expect, it's not tight yet, I'm just snugging it and checking things. So if you're always expecting trouble and problems, then everything should go better than expected. All right, now let me check everything out, alignment here. What do you think?
Yes,
right, folks? Finally, this thing is come together. Once and for all, we have the problem solved. But anyway, finally, we are back to where we were almost a year ago.